Hi, welcome. Today we're going to be going over how to use Etherscan, which is an open source website and public block explorer for the Ethereum network. If you're not familiar with the Ethereum network or what the difference is in that and Bitcoin, check out the library. There'll be some other videos to explain that. So to begin with, we need to get to Etherscan. We have it in the Trace Crypto page here on the block explorers, where we have Trace on Ethereum network. That's going to take you to Etherscan. And we'll start with a given set of information. Now, you may have all of this information depending on your case, or you might have bits and pieces of it. So what we have here is we have a date timestamp, June 20th, 2023 at 7:39 UTC. So depending on where you get this information from, all right, it might be from your victim's email date timestamp, or might be from an ATM receipt date timestamp. It might be your victim just kind of coming up with it based on what time they looked at their phone. So all of those things, you have to bear in mind that the blockchain generally and Etherscan as well operate on UTC time. So make sure you are cognizant of that and make the conversions as necessary. So in this case, we'll be dealing with 23,434 USDT. Your victim will probably know that, even if they don't understand what USDT is, they'll know that about the amount. Now, it may not be precise because if we're talking about ATMs, there could be some fees involved. So that's another consideration you want to think about when you're going to look for these transactions. There may not be the exact amount that they tell you. All right, then we have the transaction hash. That's like basically a receipt for that specific transaction. You're going to have the sending address. That's where your victim sent the money from, and the receiving address. That's going to be your bad guy. All right. So in this case, I also pulled out the last couple digits because sometimes on an ATM receipt, all you'll have to go on is the last couple digits if you don't get any assistance from the ATM provider. All right. So given this information, let's say the best part or the best information you could start with is the transaction hash. So let's just show you what happens there. If I take that transaction hash and I pop this into this search bar up here. All right, we're going to get the exact transaction we're talking about, and we're going to see that that money left from this wallet. It interacted with this address, which is just the Tether smart contract address. Again, if you understand what Tether is, stable coins are, or tokens generally, check the training library. We'll have something for you there. But we're not going to pay too much attention to that right now. What we're going to do is go down here to the ERC20 tokens transfer. ERC20, that's just basically all tokens that are running on the Ethereum chain are going to be ERC20 tokens. So we see here it went from this address, so that's going to be our victim's address, whether it be either an ATM they used or a Coinbase account they have, or even if they have their own cold storage wallet. It went to this address, that's going to be our bad guy address. We see the 23,434. So if we go to net transfers, that breaks it up a little bit so you can kind of see a little easier what's going on here. You have the 23,434 leaving this, being sent from that wallet address, the 0xE8A address, and it's received by this address. So if we're trying to trace this, that's where we're going to go. We're going to click on this address. But before we do that, because once we go toward that address, one thing I want to make note of is like right now we're in a page that is like the transaction page. So that when we click on the wallet address, it's going to take us to a wallet page. It's going to look a little different because it does something different. A wallet is going to be made up of multiple transactions over the history of that wallet, whereas when we're in the transaction page, we're only talking about this one specific transaction. So before we hop into that wallet that we're going to go and try to follow the money, we just want to take note of the date timestamp. So our 23,434 left this wallet at 7:39 a.m. on June 20th. All right, so now let's go to that wallet and see if we can find it on the other side. So you can see that this page looks a little different. Here we have a listing of all these different transactions. So each one of these will open up to a transaction page. We can see where the funds are coming in and where they're going out. Here's the date. You can actually change the date between the age. Sometimes it'll automatically be on the age when you get here, so you just have to click up here to change it to the date. And let's scroll down, look for June 20th. All right, here we go, June 20th, 7:39 a.m. That's going to be our transaction. Sure enough, the 23,434. Now, what's interesting here is something to take note of. You can see that right before our 23,434 came in, the previous day, there was a 2,000 USDT deposit. You can tell that because it's this green in, right? And then just after it, we had a 10,000 deposit. So if you add those up, obviously, you get 35,434. So nothing says that that would have had to be 35,434 because the bad guy could have moved out just a small piece, or could have moved, 10,000, or could have moved 15,500, whatever he wanted. But in this case, they're just consolidating likely stolen money and moving it forward to the next wallet in the money laundering chain. But what's we would have to articulate here, and it's easy to do so, is that, hey, that 35,434, even though it's not the same exact amount as the 23,434, my 23,434 is included inside that 35,434. So now that's what we're going to follow. So just like before, we see this is the address we're in, or the wallet we're in. You can double check that just by looking up here, which will show you which wallet you're in. So this is, again, where the money came in, and it's going out to this wallet. So now we want to jump over and follow that wallet. Again, before we do that, we want to look at the date timestamp. This one was on the same day, 6/20, but at 15:05. So now we're going to get into this wallet, and we're going to go try to find this 35,434 deposit to the next wallet. So as soon as we get on this one, you can see right off the bat, there's a couple things I noticed. One, we've got 1,300 transactions, so there's going to be a lot to go through. But more importantly, we start seeing a lot of this wallet's going out to BitCub, which we call that attribution. We know we know who owns that wallet, and Etherscan does a very good job of this. It'll identify these wallets. So you see here it says BitCub hot wallet, and it's all going to hot wallet 2. So just from experience, and you can, after you've done it a few times, you'll realize this, but the way the exchanges work and exchange wallets work, it's when you have an account with them, your crypto doesn't stay in your wallet. Basically, BitCub, in this case, they'll give you a wallet, but it's not really your wallet. It's their wallet that they're letting you use because you don't have the private keys to it. So BitCub is holding those keys when money comes in to your wallet at BitCub. Now BitCub is going to flush that account and move it into their, in this case, BitCub hot wallet. And that's going to be where they aggregate all of their tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of clients all into big accounts. So right off the bat, I can say, you know what, this wallet that we're in is a hosted BitCub wallet, because every time there's a deposit, it clears out and the exact same amount goes to the BitCub hot wallet. So really, there's no need to even follow it beyond here. There's a bunch of transactions here. But because I know that this is now a BitCub hot wallet, what I would do is I would subpoena BitCub. Well, unfortunately, BitCub is out of Thailand and they are not compliant with the US. But let's say this was like Coinbase or even Binance. Then I would know, hey, I can go after it. And what I would do is I would use this wallet address, right? And I would use the transaction hash that got us here. So I'd actually use the previous transaction hash that sent it here, because now that I know this is a BitCub wallet, going and finding the specific transaction on the next step, it's just going to show me the transaction where it moved to their BitCub hot wallet, which is not going to do me much good. So the subpoena I'm sending is going to say, hey, BitCub, or hopefully, Binance or Coinbase, I want the subscriber information or the account holder information for whoever owns this deposit address hosted at BitCub. And I want all addresses under that user ID. And specifically, I want to identify it further, you can use the transaction hash that sends that to BitCub so they can identify it, as well as the amount. So that was using the transaction hash. Now I want to go back and do the same thing, but let's say all we have is the receiving wallet, right? So if your victim says, hey, I sent about $23,000 to this wallet on this date, right? So if we know they sent about $23,434 on June 20th, now if I were to come into Etherscan, it's going to look a little bit different. If I do a search for that wallet, So now I'm on the actual wallet page. So the really only difference, we've already done this, it's a different starting point now. So the one thing I wanted to bring up though is that when you put in that wallet address, you're going to see here, you don't see any USDT, right? Well, you see it here, but when you look at the value, it's all 0 ETH. Well, that's because the Ethereum network is ETH is the native currency of the Ethereum network. So every transaction, whether it be a token, USDT, uh, if it's not an ETH transaction, there is still an underlying ETH transaction, which gets that transaction done. So it's not a problem. We're just going to go up here and go to ERC20 tokens. So again, with our starting information we know that this address received 23,000 on June 20th. So that's what we're going to go look for. And there it is. So June 20th at 7:39, this wallet received 23,434. And this brings up a good point as well, because if you're just looking at this, notice it looks a little bit different. But that's because in this page, it's including these, they're basically fake coins. So you can see why it has a big red mark on it. So we can just ignore that. So just like before, we have the $2,000 deposit, we have the 23,434 deposit, and then we have the $10,000 deposit. Then we've got our 35,434 going out. So just like before, we can take that and follow it to the next wallet, and that's when we're back at our BitCub wallet. All right, so those are two ways, either given the transaction hash or given just the receiving wallet and the date timestamp. You can also do that with the sending wallet. You would do it the same way. Just look for that sending wallet, and rather than looking for an incoming transaction with that date timestamp and amount, you're looking for the outgoing transaction. So if you don't understand Etherscan or everything that Etherscan has to offer, there's actually a lot of things you can do on Etherscan, including getting monitors on wallets, finding out some really good historical data. We have another video in the training library which goes through everything that Etherscan can do for you. So I hope you enjoy that, and just check back with us regularly. We're going to continue to update the training library with additional videos. Thanks a lot.